Hey guys, thanks for joining me again for another round of stories right here on Thailand Bound. And just a quick reminder, if you're one of those people who have been out to Southeast Asia and you've had a relationship that's gone sour or it's gone well and you'd like to share a story, send it in to me. Email address is in the description below. I'll change names, I'll make it anonymous, and you too can have your story read out right here on Thailand Bound. Okay, so today I've got 5 stories for you today. The first 4 have never been read out on this channel before. Number 5 is a reread. I had some comments from people saying, look, if you're going to read out a story that you've read out before, you should tell us at the beginning, not at the end, which is a fair point. So the 5th story I read out in 2021, but I thought it wasn't a bad story, so I thought, why not give it another run, just as a filler, as it were. Okay, so let me jump into the first of 5 stories today.
สวัสดีค่ะ
One day, I'm sitting at home bored and looking for something to watch on TV. For the record, I live in Los Angeles, California, USA. I had a week off work and pretty much nothing to do. I stumbled across this reality TV court show with this absolutely beautiful woman on it. Every guy has a type, and boy, was she my type. Full bosom, tiny waist, puffy cheeks, and nice rear. For the record, I hate reality TV shows because there's far too many of them. MTV's Real World, New York 1992, then came Survivor, and then Pandora's Box was opened. There are literally hundreds of them now. Anyway, back to the story. The judge asked them why they were there. Robert, the plaintiff, around age 52, and Jasmine, the defendant, around 46, were there because they were once engaged to be married, but broke it off. Robert was seeking all his money back that he spent on Jasmine during the few months they were together. The total dollar amount came to about $9,000. Robert told the judge that he had paid her rent for 3 months at $1,500 per month and bought her airline tickets and accommodation to visit her parents in Philadelphia for $1,000, and also bought her a wedding and engagement ring that cost $3,500. Robert was a businessman who worked in the corporate world, making a 6-figure salary. Jasmine worked as a model, but work was few and far between, so Robert was helping her out. The judge then asked what caused their breakup. Robert said Jasmine was not truthful with him, but she said she never lied. Robert said that when they first got together, he made it clear that he wanted a relationship built on trust and honesty, or it would never work out. So the judge asked Robert to start from the beginning and explain what happened. Robert said he met Jasmine and was awestruck. He was looking for a serious relationship, and she was too. They hit it off and began dating. After 3 months, they decided to get married. Jasmine told Robert, let's move in together so they could save money and not waste it on rent. But Robert said no, because he felt their union would not be blessed, so they should wait until marriage. Robert bought her an expensive engagement and wedding ring and flew her out to Philadelphia to meet his parents. The next step was to introduce Jasmine to his closest friends. Robert set up a dinner with his 3 closest friends, Ted, Ed, and Ned, to introduce them to Jasmine. The judge asked what happened next. Robert said they met for dinner and his friends were impressed. Robert was proud to show off his future wife, but noticed a change in Ted's attitude. He asked Ted what was wrong. Ted told Robert that he recognized Jasmine from somewhere but could not figure out where. Then Ed and Ned said they too remembered her. Now, here's where you and the listeners might say, yeah, right. When all 3 said they remembered her, a light switch flipped in my brain, and I too remembered her from somewhere. Remember, I said I stopped on that TV channel before she was my type of woman. Hard to believe, but true. Just like Ted, Ed, and Ned, I could not place her. Was it a magazine, a TV commercial, or what? Remembering she told Robert when they first met that she was a model, my brain flickered like a faulty light bulb, trying to remember, but nothing came. Robert was upset. He told the judge he thought his friends were being silly and jealous because Jasmine was so hot. He dismissed them and ended the night and took Jasmine home. Jasmine was in a panic. She told Robert she knew his friends did not like her and begged him to go to Las Vegas to get married. For those who do not know, Las Vegas is a gambling town in Nevada where people go to get married quickly, all legal as long as there is one witness. Robert said no. He wanted a wedding in front of his family and friends and was not going to run off to get married in a small chapel. The next day, Robert got a call from Ted, who told him that no matter what he thought, he had definitely seen Jasmine before and begged Robert not to get married until he figured it out. Robert was annoyed and hung up. A few days later, Ted called again and asked Robert to come over after work. Robert agreed. The judge asked if Robert knew what this was about. Robert said of course he knew what it was about. It was Jasmine. His friends had not shut up about her since they met, and he was getting fed up. He told the judge that unless it was something really important, he was ready to end his friendship with them because he thought they were just jealous. Robert said he went to Ted's house after work and Ted told him to come in and sit down. Ted apologized for how it had all looked and then turned on the TV and played a DVD. What Robert saw next shocked him. Jasmine was starring in an aerobics film, soft but still aerobics. Robert froze in disbelief. Ted says he was sorry, but this is why he kept saying he had seen her before. At that moment, I too realized I had seen her in an aerobics film, but it was hardcore, not soft. That is where I remembered her from. Think about it. How many stars do you remember with their clothes on? You remember them in their birthday suits. That is why Ted, Ed, Ned and I could not place her. The judge asked what happened next. Robert said he went home and called Jasmine and said he needed to see her. He went to her place and confronted her. He asked why she lied and did not tell him about her past. She said he never asked, so she did not lie. The judge turned to Jasmine and asked if she thought she should have told Robert about her past work. She said no, that was in the past and anyway, it was not real. She says soft aerobics is not the same as hardcore aerobics. Soft aerobics involves body bumping and fake movements, not real. Robert told the judge he did not care. He did not want a woman that over 100 men had touched all over. So the judge made his ruling. He told Robert that unless he had a contract saying the money spent on rent and the trip had to be paid back, it would be considered a gift. But the ring had to be returned. The judge asked Jasmine where the $3,500 ring was. She said, I no longer have it. The judge asked where it was. She said she sold it to a pawn shop. He asked how much she got. She said $1,500. The judge ruled in Robert's favour and told Jasmine she must pay the full $3,500 since she sold the ring. At the end, both parties walked out of the courtroom separately to be interviewed by a court reporter. Jasmine went first. She said she and Robert could have had a wonderful life if it were not for his meddling friends. She blamed them for ruining her life and cried the whole time. Then Robert was interviewed. He said if Jasmine had been honest from the start, they would not be where they were. The court reporter asked if he was still friends with Ted, Ed and Ned. He said yes. They only did what true friends would do. Peter, this story I just told was in reference to a story you read a couple of years ago. It was about a Thai lady and her Farang fiancé. She told him she had a secret because they were getting serious and were about to marry. She told him she once starred in an aerobics film. You said she showed him still pictures from the set. When he sent his story to you, he shared those pictures with you for your eyes only. Do you recall that story? Viewers commented asking why she would do that, and you said Thai women would rather get the secret out and see if the guy can deal with it before going further so they will not waste each other's time. If he found out later. So I do remember that story, and I remember another story as well. There was a story about an Australian guy who met a lady on Tinder. Didn't really know a lot about her. Had a kind of an online relationship online, if you could call it that. They were back and speaking to each other online, FaceTime. That's what I'm trying to say. And the guy eventually went up to Konkani Nissan to meet her. He'd never met her before, and she picked him up at the airport with family, normal kind of thing. He'd booked himself into a kind of resort hotel near the airport there, and the parents, brother, sister, and everything went off. She got an overnight bag. She sat on the end of the bed, and he was in the room, obviously, with her. And she said, "Look, I've got something to tell you." She said, "I was a freelancer in Phuket for 8 years before you met me." And he was kind of devastated and said, "Well, why didn't you tell me this before I came over?" And she said, "Well, if I told you, you wouldn't have come over, but I want to tell you now because I don't want you to hear it later on down the line. If we get into a serious relationship and 2 years down the line somebody else tells you, you might not like it." So his thoughts at the time were, well, I'm here for 10 days. I might as well enjoy a company. And to cut a long story, he actually did fall in love with her. They became an item. They went back to Australia. They've been together for about 14 years now. She works. She's got money down on a mortgage. Everything worked out. But the reason I'm telling you this story is because this is a very Thai girl thing that they'd rather get it out in the open so you can make your decision right there. They don't want to hide it. And in fact, what did happen, one of the jealous aunties, they had a get together one time, and one of these aunties who was just like a real kind of money fiend, nothing was important except money, tried to extort money out of her because she had a Farang husband and thought he was rich. And in the end, she didn't get any money, and she went and told the guy, she was a freelancer in Phuket. Very under the table stuff, very bad. But he was kind of like smiled and says, "Yeah, so what?" And that's why she told him. A bit of a longer story there, but I can understand why the guy sent this in and what it relates to. By the way, if you think I sound a little bit different today, I do. I'm just getting over a very, very bad cold, and my voice isn't quite the same. But we'll plod on with 4 more stories, okay? This is number 2. For about 3 years, I have visited many different salons. There are a lot of Thai massage parlours here in Sweden, and visiting them became a way for me to deal with my grief and loneliness after my wife passed away. I was left alone on our farm with horses, dogs and chickens. Now, I only have the cats left. Nowadays, after work, I go straight to the gym and come home at 8 in the evening, just eat and sleep after that. Every day is the same. For those of you who don't know, in Sweden it is legal to sell sexual services, but it is illegal to buy. As we all understand, there are different types of salons, serious and less serious, depending a little on how you look at it. And you can always say no if you're asked about a happy ending. This means with the law, the girls at the salons are safe, while the men are at risk. Right now, there is a debate going on after some celebrities have been caught visiting Thai massage parlours, and the ones making the most noise in the debate are usually the ones who know the least. To be completely honest, it's not even a real debate because there is no other side to the issue. The haters are free to write whatever they want, calling Thai girls disgusting and horrible and criticising all the men who just want happy endings. The latest trick from the police is to go after the landlords and threaten them with lawsuits, saying they will be prosecuted for pimping. But that approach hasn't worked yet because the police must have solid evidence that something illegal is happening on the premises. I'm not saying it's right to break the law, but that's the situation right now. And if you're a journalist writing about it, you should learn the facts first. Anyway, when I visit a new salon, I obviously have no idea if it's a good one or a bad one. Always exciting. Sometimes it's a salon where an older woman works alone and speaks good Swedish because she's been here many years. The best part in that case is the massage is usually top class. The downside is she has to answer the phone and open the door for drop-ins, which is annoying. Another example is the so-called oil smudges, often young, very pretty girls with no massage training at all. At first you think, wow, what might happen now? But then you realise she's scrolling her phone with one hand and massaging you with the other in a boring rhythm. Those girls don't usually stay long at the salons. So with that said, it can be a bit of a lottery. Over time, I've found many good places and gotten to know a lot of Thai girls, and that's why I'm writing this. My opinion of Thai girls is that they are very nice to talk to, always happy, smiling and kind. Of course, I'm aware they see me as a customer, but I've gotten to know several of them, and some have become good friends. I once dated a Thai woman, and that story was read out before. Story number 3, episode 303. I'll admit it didn't end in the best way, but it was still a good experience. After that, I met a Thai girl who didn't work with massage, and I've never met such an amazing woman before. She was hardworking and studying at the same time. Incredibly lovely, kind, generous, caring, understanding, funny, nice, easygoing, and I honestly have nothing negative to say about her, and she was very adventurous in bed. Unfortunately, we lived very far apart. She was from Norway and me in Sweden, a 14-hour drive one way and no direct flights. We both wished things were different, but sadly, we don't see each other anymore. Many people have strong opinions about Thai girls, especially Swedish women who think I think they're just jealous. A Thai girl is often petite and very beautiful, even if she's a bit older, and above all, she's more feminine and much more fun than Swedish girls. I can't think of anything more boring than talking to a Swedish woman unless I want to talk about bank loans, interest rates, or square meter prices. When it comes to more or less serious massage parlours, less services doesn't mean bad to me. I've had lots of funny moments in those places, and if I want an ego boost, I go to those salons where they often say, "Oh, so strong, nice muscles," and want to examine my tattoos. I've had a masseur use me as a mattress, a small woman curled up on my back who just wanted to cuddle and rest. Not exactly serious, but fun. Once I got two girls at once because I had nothing to do at the time. One of them didn't speak any English, so they spoke in Thai, and the one who couldn't speak translated for me, saying things like she says, "You have a perfect body and a nice butt," and so on. When the second girl realised what was going on, she didn't care, we just laughed. Situations like this happen all the time, and for a 50-year-old man it's a great ego boost. People can think what they want, but I have fun, and as far as I know, we only get one life. One time a girl even fell asleep while massaging me. Yes, it's true, very funny. It was my first visit to that place, and I won't leave a bad review because she was actually very nice and fun. At least when she was awake. These are my thoughts and experiences of Thai women. They are often described negatively here in Sweden, but I think they're amazing. I will continue visiting Thai massage saloons and collecting fun stories. Soon, I'm going to visit Thailand for the very first time. Well, great story there. I think he's saying, they get a bad rap. People speak badly about them. I think most of the people who speak badly about them in Europe, America, wherever, are actually the women, the European women and the American women stuff. And I just put it down to a little bit of jealousy, because as the guy said, even when they're older, they're normally very petite and small, and they are, for the most part, these Thai girls, they're very, very nice. Even working girls, they're very, very nice to talk to and a lot of fun. Okay, right. Let's go into story number 3. I believe this is quite a short story. I have listened to your channel for a while, and I think you really try to give expats the full story. This is just a little bit to add to your tool bag, and it happened to me today. Every 2 weeks, I buy a 5-gallon jug of water from a truck that comes through our subdivision while my Thai wife is at work. This has been going on for at least 6 months. I've always paid 20 baht, and it's always been the same: 2 young men, a driver and a worker. The worker would carry the water to the door, and sometimes he would ask for a cigarette, which was no problem. I would give him one. Today, the water truck came with a different worker, and I directed her to carry the bottle to the front door. I thanked her in Thai and gave her 20 baht. She said it was 25 baht. I wondered if the price had gone up. She spoke to the driver. I don't know what she was said because I don't speak Thai, but I paid 20 baht like normal. I really don't know if she was trying to shake me down for an extra 5 baht because I'm a Farang, but the driver clearly wasn't going along with it. It just goes to show you there are good and bad people everywhere. Keep up the good work on the channel. I can't send my story about how I met my wife because I already sent it to another channel. But maybe I'll send my story about my life in Thailand one day. Yeah, and that's it. Very short story. I think here, people will try and scam you if they get the chance. A lot of people will think, oh, he's a Farang. He doesn't understand. But a lot of guys like myself have lived here a long time. I'm coming up for my third. Well, this is the end of my 3rd year now. And although you might think, well, 5 baht's just a small amount. Why is he making a big deal about it? It's not that it's the 5 baht, it's that somebody's trying to rip you off. You know the price, and they're saying, no, it's not 20, it's 25. I'll give you something that happened. I'll give you an example of something that happened to me quite a while ago, a couple of years ago. So I was going down to Hua Hin. I didn't have a car or a motorcycle at the time, and I went down on the bus from Edgemere, and I had one bag, and I was lucky enough to get the front seat. It was one of these, I think it was about 22 seats. It wasn't the large blue buses, the big ones, and it wasn't one of those little 8-seater mini buses, but in between, about 22, 26 seats. I was lucky enough to get the front seat next to the driver, and he said, just put your bag down on the top of the engine cover, inside. And that was it. And I paid, I think it was 240 baht for the bus ticket down there. But when I came back, I went to Blueport, which is one of the shopping malls, and the bus stops beside Blueport. And they have a table outside, and I said, yeah, Bangkok, Edgemere. And she said, you'll have to buy 2 tickets. And I said, why is that then? And she said, because your bag, you'll have to put it on the seat next to you. So she was trying to charge me double. As soon as I said, I said to her, no, hang on a minute. I came down from Bangkok and I was only charged one price. This bag I put on the floor. Now, she didn't get into an argument with me about it. She didn't try to defend her stance. She just looked at me and said, oh, okay, 240 baht. So she knew what she was doing. And as soon as I kind of stood up for myself, there was no more to be said, no argument, and she just charged me the regular price. So a lot of times, the whole point of this story is a lot of times guys will say, well, why are you making a big deal? It's 10 baht, 20 baht, it's nothing in your own money. Why don't you just let it go? But it's not about that. You have to stand up to it because somebody's trying to cheat you out of that 20 baht, okay? And most guys I know, including myself, we don't want to be cheated. It doesn't matter whether it's 1 baht or 1,000 baht, it's not good, is it? Right, okay, waffling on a bit as usual. Let's go into our final story of the day. This isn't the final story. This is number 4. I've got one more after this. I landed in Bangkok in March last year, thinking it would be nothing more than a simple 2-week break from the rain and routine back in Manchester. I was 42, divorced, no kids, tired of the same old scenes and the same tired conversations. I'd been watching YouTube videos for months, hearing stories about Thailand, about how the women were kind, the beer was cheap, the people smiled at you, and the air felt like freedom. I booked a hotel just off Soi 22 called the Golden Orchard. It was nothing flash, but it had a bed, air conditioning, and a rooftop pool that looked a lot better in the pictures. The moment I dropped my bag and stepped outside, I felt like I'd walked into another world. Tuk-tuks buzzing, the smell of food on every corner, street dogs curled up under parked scooters, and then the bars. I didn't plan to go to Soy Cowboy that first night, but I ended up there. I think the lights just pulled me in. Everything was glowing, flashing, pumping with music. Girls in short skirts stood in groups, calling out to me like I was someone important. I stopped outside a go-go bar and I lit a cigarette just to take it all in. And that's when I met her. She walked up to me like we already knew each other. Her name was Meow. Long brown hair with blonde tips, black jeans and a tight white top that said sexy in silver letters. She said she wasn't a bar girl, just waiting for a friend. She asked where I was from, and when I said England, she smiled and said she liked the way I talked. We ended up in a small beer bar further down the Soy. She ordered a vodka Red Bull without asking and finished it in 2 gulps. I paid for it, and for the second one she quickly ordered after. Then she said she was hungry. We walked to a food store where I bought her grilled pork and sticky rice. We sat on plastic stools near a drain, laughing about nothing. She touched my arm often, smiled a lot, and I felt the best I'd felt in years. She asked where I was staying. I told her, and she said maybe she could come over. I didn't even think twice. We walked back to the hotel and had aerobics. In the morning, she was still there, sitting cross-legged on the bed, scrolling through her phone. She looked at me and smiled, said she liked my eyes, then told me she was short on her rent. She said it was about 6,000 baht. I didn't hesitate. I gave it to her. She thanked me, kissed my cheek, and said I was a good man. That night, she came back, then again the next night. I stopped going to bars. I didn't care about any other girls. I was completely hooked. She told me about her family up in Isan, how her younger brother needed school shoes, how she hated her job in a nail salon. I gave her money for the brother, bought her sandals from Terminal 21, paid for meals, drinks, taxi rides. We took selfies together near the London Red bus display. She said she wanted to see snow. I started picturing a future with her, maybe bringing her back to England, maybe even moving to Thailand full time. It felt like I was finally getting something I deserved. On the 11th day, she didn't reply to my message. I waited all day, then into the evening. I started pacing the room. Something didn't feel right. I walked down to Soy Cowboy, hoping she'd be at one of the spots we usually passed. Nothing. I kept walking, then outside Baccarat Bar, I saw her. She was holding hands with a man at least 20 years older than me, pot belly, bright red face, wearing a Hawaiian shirt and sipping a beer. She saw me and froze, then turned her head. I walked over and asked what was going on. She looked at me like I was a stranger. She said she was busy. I asked who the man was. She said he was a customer. I asked about her rent, her brother, the sandals. She shrugged. She said I wasn't her boyfriend, she wasn't my wife, and I'd been kind, but that was it. I didn't say another word. I walked back to my hotel, packed my bag, and flew home the next morning. I sat in my apartment for days afterwards, trying to make sense of it, trying to convince myself it wasn't personal, but it was. It felt personal. I'd fallen hard, and she'd moved on without blinking. She messaged me a week later saying she missed me and needed help again. I didn't reply. I started drinking more. I stopped watching YouTube videos about Thailand, then I started watching them again. Every guy on there sounded like me, hopeful, then angry, then bitter. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had to go back, not for her, but for me, to face it, to understand it properly. I booked a flight for October and took 2 weeks off. This time I stayed on Soi 4 near Nana. The area was rougher, more full on, and it suited my mood. I walked through Nana Plaza my first night, but the magic was gone. The girls grabbed at my arm, called me handsome man, said the same lines I'd heard before. I kept walking. I ended up in a small beer bar off Soi 8. That's where I met Brian. Yorkshire guy, white beard, belly like a barrel. He said he'd lived in Thailand 20 years, married a Thai woman. Once she took everything, including the dog. Now he just drank Leo, played pool, and gave advice no one asked for. He said, if you come to Thailand looking for love, you'll find lust. If you want peace, you'll find madness. But if you come with no expectations, you might just survive. We became drinking buddies for the next few nights. I told him about Meow. He nodded like he'd heard it all before. He said I got off lightly. One night he took me to Therme coffee shop. We got there just after 10:30 p.m. The place was already packed. Girls in high heels sitting in groups, drinking vodka Red Bull and scanning the room like security cameras. Some looked like supermodels, some looked tired, some looked desperate. I sat in the corner with a beer and I watched. Then I noticed one girl looking at me. She walked over, short black hair, soft round face, no makeup. Her name was A. She asked where I was from. I told her the UK. She smiled, said I looked tired. I said I was. She said, maybe I make you feel better. I told her I didn't want that, just someone to talk to. She laughed and said, okay, I sit with you. We talked for 2 hours. She told me about her village near Ubon, said she had a niece she looked after and a mum she sent money to. She said she worked in a massage shop during the day and only came to Therme when money got tight. I bought her a Coke, no alcohol. She said drinking made her feel sad. Before I left, I gave her 500 baht. Not for anything, just because. She smiled, said thank you, and didn't ask for more. I came back the next night, then the next. We talked more, we never touched, she never pushed. I started to feel normal again, like I could breathe, like I'd finally let go of Meow. Without even realising it, on my final night, I gave A 1,000 baht and said I was flying home. She looked me in the eye and said, thank you. You're a good man, not stupid like some. I laughed because I had been stupid, but not anymore. I flew back to Manchester with no pain, no fantasy, just a quiet calm. I understood now. Thailand isn't what they sell you. It's not all lies, but it's not all magic either. You can lose yourself here, or you can find yourself, but you rarely get both. Another nice story there. Just a quick tip for you guys. If you're coming out here for the first time, if you meet a girl inside Nana Plaza, it doesn't even have to be in a bar, just inside the plaza or on Soy Cowboy, and she's on her own and she tells you she's waiting for a friend, she isn't. She's working in one of those bars, because a good decent Thai woman wouldn't be stood in the middle of Nana Plaza or Soy Cowboy. It's just, they just don't do it, okay? So in that environment, if you meet a girl, she's definitely working. I haven't got anything to say on that. They're just working, and they pretend they're not. Of course, if she's not in a bar, she's going to say she works in a nail salon, something like that, massage parlor. Right, okay, we're going to go into our fifth and final story today. I like this story. As I said, quick warning to the whiners out there who tell me off for not letting them know it's a reread story. I first read this out in 2021. I believe it was April 2021. And I thought I'd just tag it onto this week's stories again, okay? So if you don't like hearing stories again, this is a time for you to switch off, all right? But quite a good story, as I said. Firstly, a little bit about myself so I can paint the backdrop for this story. I'm an average-looking American guy in my mid-30s and was on my first trip to Thailand. I had heard stories of Pattaya from a friend, and as a gift to myself, I decided to finally go and booked my trip right after New Year. I flew into Bangkok and I was going to be in Thailand for a little over 2 weeks. After a few nights of visiting the go-go bars in Nana Plaza, I headed down to Pattaya. What a culture shock! I was not used to the handsome man catcalls every 20 feet. I really thought that type of attention would be enjoyable, but truthfully, I now see why women find this off-putting. However, after a few more days, a person can adapt to their surroundings. I had been hitting the go-go bars on Walking Street every night, and I am bar finding a different girl each night to drink and play pool with. After about a week, I go into a bar I've never been into before, to which I found is quite famous on Walking Street. If you do a little research, you will know which go-go bar I'm referring to. This go-go bar is unlike any other I went to here in the States. All clubs have a keep your hands to yourself type of rule regarding the dancers. That's in the USA. This place, to put it mildly, had no such rule. If I was uncomfortable with catcalls, you can imagine what I seen there. I found rather disturbing. I left after about 20 minutes, but as I said, you get used to just about anything in time. So a couple of days later, I thought, why not check out that place again? Which brings me to the main character of the story. I never did get her name, but we'll just call her Hot Mess, or M for short. I called her Hot Mess because out of all the girls in the bar, of 70 to 100, she was a superstar. She was also a bubbly mess, so Hot Mess. Bleach blonde hair, 5 foot tall, and a perfect figure. I called her over and I bought her a drink. Now, I drink margaritas normally, but trying to find a place that serves decent margaritas in Thailand is like trying to find water in the desert. You can find it, but you really must search. So I must resort to shots of tequila. Also, as this is relevant to the story, I have a rather high tolerance for alcohol, and if I don't keep drinking once I've started when I'm out, I will very quickly lose my mood. This isn't really a problem because I can hold my alcohol, and unless you really know me, most people can't tell when I'm drunk. So we have a few shots and I ask her to leave the bar with me. Most enjoyable part of the evening for me is partying and playing pool in the bars on Beach Road. M tells me she cannot keep me company for more than a couple of hours or so. I have a pretty good buzz and I really want to see her, so I take her for a couple of hours and a good time is had by all. Fast forward 2 days, I really want to see her again. I go back to her bar, but she is with another guy. I decide to have a few drinks and hang back and see how the situation develops. After a little while, he leaves and she comes and sits next to me. I buy another round and tell her I want to take her out again, but this time I want to take her out for the evening, not just a couple of hours. She again says she can only go out for a few hours. M told me that if I paid 2 bar fines, she could keep me company for the entire evening, which worked for me. Now, this part is key to the story. No money has changed hands between M and I, so this is where our evening started. She said she had not eaten yet and asked me if she could eat some noodles that the manager had bought for the girls and were in the girls' changing room. She tells me that after we eat we can leave together. I wanted to enjoy M's company and hadn't eaten anything myself, so I offered to take her to a seafood restaurant on the waterfront. I thought it was certainly better than noodles from a seller's cart on the street. M said, no, it's fine, the noodles will be fine and will save me money. I said that I really didn't mind and I would be happy to take her out for a good meal. She again declined, and I said okay, I would wait for her. About 20 minutes later, she comes out, all smiles, and is ready to go. We go to another go-go bar together, as she doesn't play pool but wants to drink. That suits me just fine. We have a few shots and rank the girls on stage by hotness. We are both laughing and having a good time. I tell her she is prettier than all of them, to which she is positively beaming. What girl doesn't like flattery? After an hour or so, she says she wants to take me to another bar her friends work at. I knew immediately this is going to be costly if I decide to go, but at this point I have a good buzz, so I don't really care about the money. So we head off to the next bar. She sees her friends and around 4 to 5 girls huddle around us. She asks for me to buy them all a ladies' drink, which I happily oblige. We all talk and laugh for around 20 minutes, and after each girl finishes her drink, they thank me and leave me and M alone. I thought that was extremely nice that none of them, including M, did not try and pressure me for more ladies' drinks and were happy with just the one. M is also happy as she gained face for bringing in a customer to bring drinks for all her friends. So about 10 minutes later, we change go-go bars again and are laughing and holding hands on the way. At this next go-go bar, we both really enjoy the music and have a couple more shots. As I am enjoying the view, I notice so is M. It is at this point I am starting to think I am not the only one of us that likes girls. But the night is getting costly enough already without thinking such things. So I pay the bill and we leave. As we are leaving, I realise I am the perfect level of drunk. Not too much that I will be sick, but enough that I will be able to maintain my buzz for the rest of the night without having to do any more shots. M is also not too drunk and in great spirits, as we have been laughing and joking all night, and I made her look good in front of her friends. I thought, what a perfect time to end the evening and go back to my hotel. I'm also keenly aware that good vibes can quickly turn so bad when someone's been drinking, so why risk running the evening when so far it's been great? I was now hungry and wanted to take M to that restaurant on the waterfront. Against my better judgment, I asked her if she would like to go, and she happily said yes. So after a short walk, we arrived and are seated. We have had a chance to look over the menu and give the waitress our orders. As we are waiting for our food, it was around this time that I notice her mood begins to change. She's getting a little short-tempered, and I could tell the vibe wasn't the same. I had a feeling this might happen if we continued the night, but it was still just a vibe. I held out hope that her mood will again change and we will be smiles again. Unfortunately, this did not happen. I am soon finding that anything I say is taken negatively. This goes on for about 10 minutes or so, and I'm quickly seeing any hopes of a fun night evaporate before my eyes. As a last-minute idea, I attempt to spin something she said into a funny joke to make her laugh. She just stares at me and says, "Don't say that." She stays quiet for a few more seconds as I try to think of what else I could do to lighten the mood. Then she says, "Why you no let me eat?" I asked her, "What?" I didn't understand what she was referring to. She says, "At the beginning of the night, why you not let me eat noodles?" I told her I was trying to be nice and wanted to take her for a nice meal. She then said I was a bad man for not wanting her to eat. I sat there for a few seconds not knowing what to say. Then she broke the silence and said she didn't want to stay with me. Well, that was fine with me. There was no salvaging the night, and it was no fun being with someone that doesn't want to be there. So I told her I understand and I wished her a good night. She sat there for a few seconds, then reached in her purse and pulled out 3,000 baht and handed it to me. Then she got up and left. I looked down at the money and then back up at her walking away, not knowing what was going on. Apparently, neither did the staff, as our server and another server were right next to the table with our food, watching this slow-motion car wreck play out. I just looked at them and shrugged my shoulders. What could I say? Now, I only paid 1,000 baht to the bar. I hadn't paid them any money, so why had she given me 3,000 baht? I have no idea. She was with me the entire time, so she's seen what I paid to the bar. I don't know if I'm the only one in Pattaya, but if not, I am part of a select few that could say that at the end of the night, after bar finding a go-go dancer, the go-go dancer actually paid for the evening. Not bad for an average-looking guy's first trip to Thailand. Looking back on it, I can see it was funny, but at the time I felt like an idiot. What kind of jerk do you have to be for a go-go dancer to pay you to leave? So I finished my food and I was going to call it a night. I had been royally rejected by a go-go dancer and my ego was on the floor. But then it hit me. How bad could the night get? It had to be uphill from there, right? So I went out and met another girl I had previously met and barfined her with M's money. So a story with a happy ending, but I still don't know why M was so upset with me. It sounds to me like she was very, very tired. Don't forget, these girls are dancing on stage for hours and hours. They're coming down, they're having drinks. And she'd probably been dancing all night. She'd had a lot of alcohol. She'd gone out with this guy. They're walking around in the heat of Pattaya, the humidity. Something's just snapped, hasn't it? She's hit a brick wall and got very, very tired, and she's acted a bit weird like this. I'm sure the next day she regretted giving him the 3,000 baht. I wouldn't have taken it myself, but, hey. Right, okay, so... Sometimes people ask me why I reread stories, why don't I read out news stories all the time? The fact of the matter is, when I started this channel 5.5 years ago, there was only one other channel that I was aware of. That was Simon Land of Smiles, who was reading out stories. So I used to get an abundance of stories sent to me each week, lots and lots and lots of stories, especially during COVID when people had time to write out these stories. But the problem for me now is there's so many of these sites have popped up that tell stories. I've come across at least 10 to 15 that weren't around back then, and a lot of them, most of them, the guys don't show their face, they don't talk to the camera, they're either done in AI or they're just done, like they go out and film streets in Pattaya or wherever, like I do, but I put myself in the corner of the video. I just feel it gives the video more clarity, as it were. But a lot of these newest story sites that have come up, they're using AI, they go out and film it, but they don't show their faces. Some of them are becoming quite successful, but the reason I'm telling you this is because now guys have got stories that have got a lot more choice where to send them, and some guys send them to multiple channels, which is why some people will say, hey, I think I've heard this story before. But that's the reason. I try not to reread stories that I've read before, but if I didn't do that and I was short on stories, I either can't read out any stories on a Saturday, or I have to make the upload very, very short, like 5-10 minutes or something like that. But what I'll do from now on, as I said at the beginning, if it's a story I've read out before, I'll tell you at the beginning and not at the end. And as always, guys, if you're sitting on a story, please send it in. I'm always desperately short of stories now. As I say, been doing this every single week for about 5.5 years, and always looking for news stories to read out on the channel, okay? Somebody actually said to me, I'll just finish on this note. Somebody actually wrote to me and said, look, Peter, you do realise that one day AI will replace you. You realise that. What will you do then? Will you pack it in YouTube? And my honestly thoughts are, no. I mean, if people don't listen to my stories anymore and they want to go off and watch AI stories, that's fine. I'll just branch off and do other stuff like I already do, hotel reviews and food reviews and vlogs and things like that. I think people do like to see a face in a video, right, rather than just AI images. It can be a bit much sometimes. Just my personal thoughts. Maybe you could let me know in the description if you're a big fan of AI, if it's something that's come into your life and you like these AI videos and images, or you prefer the real thing. I'd love to know anyway. Okay, as usual, I'm going on and on, talking too much. I'll end it there, and hopefully I'll see you next Saturday with a whole bunch of news stories. Okay, thanks for listening, guys, and catch up soon.